Hello friends, here we are, The Medium's Harvest by Emmanuel, through the psychography of Xavier, and this is day 11. This is day 11 when we're going to study from the book Seara dos Médiuns, Hunger and Ignorance. Hunger and Ignorance is a chapter that is very, very special, because this chapter talks about one of the core issues in our society, the acquisition of knowledge and experience and the reading of ignorance. Allan Kardec, in the Medium's book, which is the inspiration for Emmanuel to develop these concepts, he wrote this dissertation on chapter 11 based on item 32 of the Medium's book, which talks about knowledge. And it's so interesting because many people around the world still believe that spiritist phenomena would be the means through which people would believe. Spirits would believe in the communication with spirits, would believe in the afterlife. And Kardec says, actually, it's not exactly through phenomena. And he says in item 32, people come to see the turning of the tables turning. Many people leave, majority of them leave without believing, even mocking it. But through the principles of the spirits that were brought in through mediumistic works, he says, people would not believe that behind the turning of the tables there would be a science that regenerates humanity. He uses that expression, a science that regenerates humanity. This is Spiritism. And that's exactly why Emmanuel, in his insightful mind, so fantastic, from that item, he goes deep in that issue and goes to the core of what Spiritism comes to do. To destroy materialism, which is a byproduct of total ignorance. We only believe what the physical eyes can see because we forgot, or we actually don't know, that what we're seeing here is passing. This physical body that we're using is the first school for us. I am not this body, though blessed. I am not the disease of this body, though blessed. Diseases are hard, but they are teachers, and we should teach it to our children. Calm, patience, take it easy. It's your body, it's not you. You're not limited by your physical disability, by your physical impediment, okay? Ceisa, are you talking about the Facebook or you're talking about the radio? If it's the Facebook, I can bring this a little closer to us and make it louder. So for us, friends, for us, it's very important to remind in this chapter the main inspiration by Emmanuel in this paragraph regards to that statement by Kardec, when he says, when people see the spirit phenomena, they wouldn't believe that behind it there is a science that is able to regenerate humanity. Regenerate meaning what? Transform for the better. Okay, thank you friends, thank you for your kindness. Okay, so If it is the radio here, we hope it is okay now, hopefully. Now, let's see what Emmanuel breaks down. Remember, in that item of this medium's book, he talks about this and how does it happen in the other way. Okay, let me see what's happening here. Sorry, friends, Kardec Radio. Thank you for double checking, friends. Now I can see it here. Hello. Hello. Yeah. Hopefully it's getting better. Let me know. If not, we'll check it out. Hunger and ignorance. Meeting on February 8th, 1960. It's based on the item 32 of the Medium's book by Kardec. An tribute to 100 years of the publishing back almost 50 years ago. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Cesa. Thank you, friends. Attentive to the need of study, so that the light of understanding teaches us to proceed safely and to live productively, let us establish some differences between hunger and ignorance, two of humanity's great calamities. Hunger weakens the body. Ignorance obscures the soul. Hunger torments. Ignorance anesthetizes. Hunger protests. Ignorance confuses. Hunger creates immediate afflictions. Ignorance creates remote calamities. Hunger is an agonizing crisis. Ignorance is a chronic, intrinsic problem. Everywhere we look, we see the hunger and the ignorant behave differently. The hungry work terribly hard for their bread. The ignorant are indifferent as to their own enlightenment. The hungry recognize their own needs. The ignorant does not define himself. The hungry show themselves openly. The ignorant hide themselves. The hungry declare their need. The ignorant fool themselves. Anyone can help a hungry individual. Rare are those, however, who can rescue someone from ignorance. To cure hunger, a gift of bread is enough. To extinguish ignorance, one must make light. To proceed in this direction, let us imagine the divine provider. We all know that the bread which the disciples gave to Jesus to be multiplied for the hungry was approximately the same as today's, that can easily be made, but the light which the Lord gave to his disciples to be multiplied for the ignorant demands tirelessly perseverance, which the spirit of pure love and wholehearted sacrifice in the service of others. Relying, therefore, on the conceptualization that hunger and ignorance suggest to us, we conclude that in the Spiritist doctrine, the friends who show us mediums and phenomena are not enough to dissipate the restlessness of our hunger for insight. Rather, and above all, We need those courageous companions who, with their attitude and example, are able to drag us out of the comfort of ignorance, assisting us to perceive. It's interesting, he begins with the word attentive and he ends with the word perception. From the first word to the last, he ties up the core of it all. It all lies in what we can perceive, in what our focus, our attention can get to. If there is a chair here, but I cannot see the chair, I'm not going to be able to use the chair. And we're not talking about perception in regards to perceiving the spirits, but perceiving the need to acquire this knowledge, that we are immortal beings. No wonder Robert the Roth clearly showed to us that we need, certainly we need to be aware, and aware meaning conscious. We need to bring consciousness to matter, to our daily lives. We are not there yet. Remember once, as Mentor Joseph said, remember, he said, be mindful is not simple, but is ideal. Why? Because if we're not the present, we cannot perceive the opportunities of growth. If we are not attentive to what is happening inside of us and around, I cannot achieve the goals of this reincarnation. For example, there are people who are asking, oh, I would love to help the world. But, are we helping our family? Are we helping making our family members feel loved? And I'm not talking about relatives far away, because that's another story. We're talking about family where we are. It can be a roommate. It can be somebody you're living with, not necessarily blood ties. Right. But then we're thinking about something far away and we forget here, this moment. For example, I was visiting family in Brazil recently, and the maid was pregnant. The lady who was helping, adorable. And we focus on the family and we think ignorantly that that person who is there working is not family. And then Mentor Joseph said, Vanessa, pay attention. I said, what am I missing? He said, the lady. I said, I know, she's pregnant. And then he said, and I said, she's 41 years old. And then, Vanessa, I don't know. And he said, investigate. And then I started talking to the person, and then to the person who is in direct contact with the person. And I realized there was a family member of mine under God, which is the highest connection we can have. We're all brothers and sisters. She was gonna have a baby, and she will, but she doesn't have the financial condition for it. She didn't ask for anything. And I said, wow, what if it were me? Or would I like somebody to notice my needs? And then I got it. If I'm not present, I cannot perceive it. Because I look at that person and I don't even see her. Cases after cases of invisibility. And it's amazing because even as spiritists, we're capable of sometimes belonging to WhatsApp groups in Spiritism and make comments forgetting about the other ones who are watching. Not mindful that you're not talking to this person alone or to that person, but there's a whole group. Emotional wisdom. How is the group going to feel? It's not wise, emotionally and socially, not to perceive that everyone has a different feeling and I need to be mindful of what I'm doing. But we are reactive beings. We're still immature. So this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful section here tells us much more than we can imagine. It tells us about life in the continuum, from a perspective of a beautiful analogy, hunger of the body and spiritual hunger, which is ignorance. First, he has 3 blocks of the session, and for us as participants in mediumistic meetings, as people want to understand more about mediumship, he says, 2 of humanity's great calamities, hunger and ignorance. What is interesting is that hunger, what does it do to the body? It makes the body weaker. It torments because it changes the neurochemistry. You don't have the same amount of proteins, you don't have the same amount of vitamins and the same amount of fat intake that is going to make the connections from synapses to synapses. And hunger in itself causes afflictions, is agonizing. But ignorance is worse. 1, it darkens the soul, obscures. It's like an eclipse of the inner sun. Ignorance is an eclipse of the inner sun. Ignorance makes us numb to life. We cannot perceive. It makes us confused and creates calamities. And it brings a chronic problem. But what is more striking, he says, is the different behaviors. People who are hungry, they know they are hungry. They work to get out of it. They show themselves as hungry people. They declare they need, but the ignorant person, I don't need enlightenment. I fool myself. I don't see what I need. So you see how dramatic it is? So he says, what do we do to heal it? To cure hunger, bread is enough, but to extinguish ignorance, we need to make light. What does he mean? It's the eclipse of the inner sun. So we need to allow this sun to come out. So when you see somebody who does not believe in spirituality, in their immortality, in God, remember, they are eclipsing their inner sun. They're not going to see you or your sun because their sun is not enlightening. So we need to bring what, as Jesus said, you're God. So tell them good things. Instead of saying, but you forgot, you don't know, you didn't see. God needs you. but I don't believe in God. But all that I know is that God loves you and God needs you. And God gave you some unique talent that none of us have. And they're like, but they like it. Because you're bringing about that inner son. But beyond words, he says, to proceed in this direction, let us imagine the divine provider. Okay? Above all, tireless perseverance with the spirit of pure love and service for others. We need courageous companions with their example to drag us out of the comforts of ignorance, helping us perceive. So we're talking about a training on raising our awareness. If we perceive this much of life, we need to increase it. The span of our spectrum of perception. How do we do it? I am light, I am light. I needed to evoke that inner divinity, my divine essence, to allow this eclipse to fade away. Fading away. No wonder Jesus said, above all, love for God, for others as ourselves. So when I contemplate nature, like this morning, I was leaving home and I saw like more than 10 crows going after either the squirrel or what he was carrying in his mouth. And he was tiny, he was hiding, he was quick, and just observing it and the noise of the crows. It's fascinating. What created it all? Just to contemplate that scenario, it's not a movie, it's real life. Right at your door, telling us something. Nature is telling us something. What is it? Raise that awareness. Observe life around. A spider that comes and finds her way, and the beautiful way she protects herself if you try to catch her. The beautiful defense mechanism, the law of preservation. And in the contemplation of life, we're going to find a new way of seeing it. So we don't tell people from the outside in. It must be a stimulus that goes from inside out. And it begins, as he says, we need courageous companions with attitude and example, like Chico Xavier, like Professor Eurípides Barçanufo. He gave up, Professor Eurípides Barçanufo, once his reasoning was convinced about the greatness of the Spiritist teachings. Reading the book After Death by Leon Denis, Sacramento in Brazil is tiny to date, imagine, more than 100 years ago. And he was respected and reputable. He gave up the need to be respected as a Catholic, to embrace these teachings. But he went beyond it. He got it that we needed to help humanity at its core, childhood, creating the first spiritual school. Fighting ignorance at the core. How can we still teach children and invest in schools to teach the alphabet, algebra, and forget that character formation is not only a duty of parents, but a duty of society as a whole? And we are paying a high price for such ignorance that makes us indifferent to the core need of humanity, which is the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of whom we are. We're still illiterate, spiritually speaking, on the earth. We cannot read spiritually. We cannot write spiritually. So how can you, as a medium or as a spiritist, expect that people who are spiritually illiterate cannot write or read spiritually? How are they going to be able ever to form sentences and write dissertations, which for us would be easy in the principles of Spiritism, if the basics is still not perceived, as Emmanuel says, assisting us to perceive? And Emmanuel is so humble that he is putting this text in the plural, including himself. I don't know either. We're still there. And we need these examples. Professor Eurípides Barçanufo. We need Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, Raul Teixeira, and Jesus above all else. And, you know, could be many others. Yogananda, and Monja Coen in Brazil, Thich Nhat Hanh from Vietnam, Dalai Lama, many others. Pope Francis, to assist us in perceiving, because often we are numb, as he says, due to the eclipse of the heart. Yes, it's the eclipse of the spirit. So let us make light and shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine, this beautiful light of mine and yours, right? Okay, Letícia Silveira, how are you? Nora Brasil, how are you? John Da Rosa, how are you? Nina Dewey, how are you? Aline da Silva, how are you? Constance and Anthony, how are you? Rihanna and Nico, how are you? Ana Lúcia de Lima, welcome. Auri Alves, how are you? Erica, beautiful Erica, how are you? Ceissa, how are you? Sunshine, Adilson, Joyce, beautiful Joyce, Ana Angelita, Fraternity Without Borders, Sol Souza, Andrea Torres, Rudy, present here on 11 at 11. Thank you, Rudy. Adilson, Lívia Moraes, beautiful Leia Severo is here. Patrícia Guide, how are you? Beautiful hug to you. And Tiago, wherever he is working. Luciana Nicoliello, our sister of the heart. Teresa Catapano, Teresa Castro, Carol Correa, Mark Smith. Friends, think about this lesson. It's striking, isn't it? Yes, great learning. Emmanuel is amazing. Tony and Connie are here. Big kiss to you, friends. You know, this lesson, above all, Emmanuel is superb. Not only his writing, but the way he makes us feel. empowering us and give us tools. He's practical. Yeah, he's very American, I would say. Very American. He proceeds like to the point and he says, if we want to extinguish ignorance, of course, make light. Make light is what? It needs perseverance, tireless. No, but I already said, but I already explained. Keep going, like the sun. The sun comes out and they say, I'm not gonna come out again. Yesterday people didn't even sunbathe anymore. No, I'm gonna stay here. Please, sun. Mr. Sun, sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on us. Oh, please, and never go away. What's gonna happen tomorrow when we come back? I wonder. No, we don't wonder. We know. We're going deeper and deeper and deeper. Because when we go to mediumistic meetings and the practice and the study, though Emmanuel is teaching us about the rapport with people, he's saying, focus on your light. And if you shine, it's going to radiate. Light radiating out, helping out. That's not selfishness. Self-love and love for others. Tomorrow when we come back, chapter 12, in mediumship. Now he's going way to item 226 of the medium's book. And he says, above all else, whatever the talent that enriches you, seek first the good, in the knowledge that the good, when in the service of others, is the only irreprehensible good we can do. You want to hear it again? I will. Whatever the talent that enriches you, seek first the good, in the knowledge that the good, when in service of others, is the only irreprehensible good we can do. Shall we? You're right, Teresa Castro. Hunger and ignorance may coexist. That's a sure thing. But for now, let us keep seeking the good and making light persistently. The light is not from us. It comes from God. Through us, let it shine. Big hug! And until tomorrow, God willing, friends.